all the projects that have been on board, I'm sure you are feeling happy that you are a part of these celebrations far and near, in and out of Guyana. And now the moment we've been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, students, all residents, special invitees, to give us the keynote address, His Excellency, President David Granger, President of the Corporate Republic of Guyana. Let's all rise.
I'm happy this morning to be here. I remember maybe about 50 years ago, the drinking classes were attracted by a slogan called Banks Tanks. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember those posters. Banks Tanks. Well, I have the opportunity again today, Clifford, to say Banks Tanks. I was impressed, Chairman, with the number of persons who would have been involved in the construction of this arch. It seemed to be a significant source of employment, and I must encourage you to do this more often. Certainly a lot of hands have touched this monument, and the chairman is quite right that 50 years ago, at the time of independence, many of our villages actually constructed arches, and if you go around the country, you will still see some remnants of these arches. But today, we are at Agricola. Georgetown, our beloved, beautiful, and sometimes battered and beleaguered capital city, was founded over 230 years ago. But now it is being refashioned and renovated. The Dutch, we read, were present in these parts in 1748, but they built only a brandwacht, not a town. The English captured Demerara from the Dutch in 1781, and its military administrator, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Kingston, established his headquarters at a place he called Fort St. George, on the site of present Georgetown. The French captured Demerara and Essequibo from the English in 1782, and the French naval commander, Armand de Cassin, demolished the English site and built another, which was called La Nouvelle Ville, the new town. Georgetown, in coming years, would vindicate the vision of that French naval commander, Armand de Cassin. He wrote, and I quote, "It was considered necessary on account of the great extent of the river and its dependencies to establish a capital which would become a business center, where religion would have a temple, justice a palace, war its arsenals, commerce its counting houses, and industry its factories, where also the inhabitants might enjoy the advantage of social intercourse." This is what was written in 1782. Georgetowners today share Admiral Cassin's vision of a capital which fulfills the cultural, economic, political, and social needs of its people. Admiral Cassin's initiative, however, did not endure. The French handed back the place to the Dutch, who renamed the center Stabroek 2 years later in 1784. But the Brits were back. The English seized Demerara again 2 years later in 1796. And with the exception of an interlude between 1802 and 1803, they held on to it until 1966. The English, on the 5th of May 1812, as you heard, renamed the place Georgetown in honor of their Prince Regent, George, who later ruled as King George IV from 1820 to 1830. So if you ever think of changing the name of Georgetown, I can nominate a candidate. I think the English population was happy when King William replaced them. The Guyanese, after 1966, retained the name Georgetown, and it also retained the name of the city's central ward, which still carries the Dutch name Stabroek. The Dutch colonies, Demerara, Essequibo, and Berbice, were united under the British governor, Brigadier, that's another brigadier, later Lieutenant General Sir Benjamin Durban. And this was in March 1831, 185 years ago. In 1837, an ordinance was passed to establish a mayor and town council. Georgetown bloomed into a beautiful city, naturally attractive and with valuable assets. Its landscape is still, in some places, embroidered with some of the most elegant examples of Georgian architecture, typically two-storied wooden edifices. Georgetown is noted for its municipal markets, the not-so-pretty Allboys Town and Border, Kitty, and Stabroek, which now is quite visible even at a distance of 100 meters. Georgetown, the only English-speaking city on the continent of South America, is decorated with open public places, gardens, parks, promenades, and more recently, the extended Merriman's Mall, a more sanitary Stabroek Square, and a spacious Durban Park. All places of relaxation, of leisure, of play, and also vending. Georgetown is proud of its heritage. The names of its streets and wards reflect its Dutch, French, and English plantation traditions. Georgetown is a city of religious houses, reflecting the diversity of denominations and beliefs embodied in the churches, mandirs, and masjids. It also has art galleries, libraries, museums, and theaters. It is intersected in places by grassy parapets and tree-lined canals, which were dug by human hands during the brutal plantation era. Georgetown today is becoming a clean city, a green city, and a serene and safe city once again. Sanitation and drainage to avert the danger of vector-borne disease, of chikungunya, of dengue, of filaria, malaria, and Zika are top priorities. Business places, public premises, and municipal properties must all go green, adopting solar and wind power, introducing renewable energy technologies, developing solid waste disposal techniques, recycling waste, and prohibiting the use of non-biodegradable materials, including by beverage manufacturers. Every visitor, every vendor, every taxi driver, every shopkeeper, every citizen must share the responsibility for keeping this city clean and sanitary. Georgetown is set to become a safe city once again. Citizens should not have to shut themselves in their homes on weekends afraid to venture forth because of unlit streets. Georgetown must become a walking city where people in the evenings can stroll with their families to enjoy the outdoors, can jog, or simply hang out with friends in our numerous watering holes. Safety and security are essential to enjoying the good life. Georgetown must be an ordered city. City wards, comprised mainly of orthogonal grids, allow for regularity and easy access. Avenues, alleyways, pavements, reserves, sidewalks, and streets must be unencumbered. Traffic congestion must be reduced. Zoning laws must be respected. And the city bylaws and pollution regulations must be enforced rigorously. Georgetown is an important asset. Admiral de Kersin envisaged a capital at work and play. The city is now one in which the legislature has its National Assembly, one in which the executive has its ministries, where justice has its magistrates and supreme courts, where foreign countries have their embassies, where religion has its places of worship, where students have their schools and colleges, where the defense and police forces have their arsenals, and where citizens enjoy the advantage of social intercourse, much to their delight. Georgetown means business. It is the country's workshop, where commerce has its central business district, and industry its factories, where transportation has its own international airport, its seaport, and its road network. Georgetown is a growing city. It was at independence 50 years ago a mere 6.5 square kilometers. Its boundaries are now extended to more than 40 square kilometers with 51 wards. Georgetowners reclaimed their capital on the 18th of March 2016. They were empowered for the first time in nearly 2 decades to freely elect a council to manage their city. What a difference that day made. Our capital city was mired in political mud for nearly 20 years. Things are different now, and our city must never suffer such neglect again, no matter which party is in office. This arch, ladies and gentlemen, serves as a permanent landmark, delineating the southern entrance into and exit out of our national capital. It will indicate to foreign visitors and local residents alike the southernmost boundary of our city. This arch, as you heard before from the chairman, is not unique. Our people, particularly those in rural communities, built their own arches to celebrate independence in 1966. There were village arches in Adventure on the Quarantine, right here in Agricola, at Bartica, at Baggotsville, at Cariveton, at Legwan, at Leonora, at Luzignan, New Amsterdam, Rosehall, Rheinveld, and as far away as Wauna in the Berima-Waini region. Passing on to this arch today and in the future must mean to us more than passing into a different jurisdiction. This arch is a gateway to a movement for urban renewal and to the development of our capital towns, 3 of which were added this year, 2016, to our stock of townships. This arch, moreover, will not only separate the city from its surrounding areas, but it separates the past from the future. It defies the disappointments and setbacks of our history. It defines our identity. It denotes the victory of our people's independence after 350 years of colonialism. It is a beacon of prosperity for rural folk who come here to settle in our capital city, including certain magnates from the East Coast Demerara. Georgetown is remaking itself. The city is undergoing renovation. Georgetown, with good management and the collaboration of civil society, the business community, our foreign friends, and our citizens, will recapture its appellation as a garden city. It will never again be known as a garbage city. Georgetown will regain its image as one of the Caribbean's most picturesque and pleasant places for residents and an attractive destination for visitors. It's a national icon, a city whose attractions and services allow everyone to experience the fulsome quality of life. Ladies and gentlemen, it is written in the Holy Bible, and I quote, "Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity." I therefore pray that the city that lies beyond this arch will witness neither bloodshed nor iniquity, but instead will be built with the bricks of peace and will be bonded with the mortar of prosperity. Again, I iterate my thanks, my gratitude to Banks DIH and the other companies which were involved in the construction of this arch, to our own Ministry of Public Infrastructure and our Ministry of Education. And I take great pleasure now inaugurating Guyana's 50th anniversary Independence Arch, and I thank you all for your attention.